Yo, Supergirl is a terrible movie. A terrible movie. I haven't even watched that, and I can say it with confidence. Everywhere you look, whether it be, box offices or random people with mics, no one likes the movie. It's like when you make these superhero movies, man, you gotta have a hero's journey, man. You just can't. I mean, you gotta earn your heroism. It's not superhero fatigue. It's a bad movie fatigue. So let's hop into it, man. Let's see what the gentleman got to say about the movie.
Oh
What
dear.
he feels about
It would seem that all is not well in the world of Supergirl, dear viewer. Not only did the movie get crapped on by every YouTuber with a microphone, but in
There
a
you go.
shocking act of corporate betrayal, even the mainstream shill media turned against it. And those guys will defend practically anything without a Y chromosome on the front cover.
That's
The
crazy.
film's last remaining hope was at the box office. I mean, plenty of crap movies have taken a critical mauling and still gone on to make like a shit zillion dollars. Maybe there was a third act redemption waiting for our girl Kara after all.
Wait, what did it say? Box office Supergirl stumbles with $37 million debut. Toy Story 5 remains number one with $70 million. Shout out to Toy Story. Oh, man.
Well, the numbers are in and the final verdict has been rendered. This movie is an absolute, complete and total stinker. In the past month or so, the opening weekend projections have been revised down more times than a UK economic forecast, and it couldn't even hit that lowest of bars. Not only did it fail to take the number one spot, but with just 37 million domestic, Supergirl performed even worse than Morbius, which managed 39 million. Damn man, even the Marvels managed to bring in 46 million.
Black girl magic!
Make no mistake, Supergirl isn't just a run-of-the-mill flop or an underperformer, it is a fucking calamity for James Gunn, the DCU, and superhero movies in general. And the thing
Strong
is,
take.
we all told you this was gonna happen. We saw the writing on the wall, we read the signs, and we formed the obvious conclusion that this film had about as much chance of success as an Airbnb in fucking Pripyat. Supergirl might be the most predictable flop in years, but what's important to understand here is why. Because there's already all kinds of bizarre myths and excuses popping up to explain it. And if you can't be honest about your own mistakes, then you'll never learn from them. And by golly, I want Hollywood to learn from this one. So with that in mind, let us examine a few of them, shall we? Myth number one is that Millie Alcock is somehow to blame for all this shit. There's this weird attempt going on to frame her as a Rachel Zegler type of actor, constantly shooting her mouth off about politics, feminism, disrespecting other actors and shitting on men in general, and the thing is, it's just not true. Most of this is based around off-the-cuff remarks cherry-picked from much longer interviews that somehow became headline news. I mean, I'm definitely not saying she's perfect or anything, and if we're honest here, casting a relatively unknown 5'2" actress with the body of a child and a face that was always going to be compared unfavourably to her predecessors was a bad move right from the start. It was always going to open her up to criticism, and boy did it come. But my point is,
See, that's the thing about it. When you get these type of roles, man, criticism gonna come from everywhere. It's gonna come from people that love the movie, people that hate the movie, people that don't even give a shit, but they just want to give their opinion nonetheless. So it's like, especially when you get these major roles, you just gotta defend the territory, But if people saying she's saying certain stuff and she not, and then you get additional hate for that, that's not right, man. It's just not right.
I don't think Millie Alcock is at fault here on a personal level. She doesn't really seem like a bad person. What she is young, impressionable, naive, and not particularly media savvy. And historically, there's no group of people easier to bait into saying something retarded than young, enthusiastic actresses that have gotten their first taste of fame and
Why they gotta make it
attention.
good up
Like
there?
this infamous red carpet interview where she clearly had a bit too much of the free champagne and was asked about Supergirl's perception as a queer icon.
It wasn't, but in honor of Pride Month, as I'm getting all these questions, I don't know. I think that what makes this film so beautiful is that it's not centered around a man. It's not centered around love at all, if anything. But we'll see. I don't really know. But I don't know. I don't know. She'd probably go.
See, the thing about it, and like I don't got like the numbers in front of me, but I know women usually watch stuff that is centered around people, love, relationships, etc. for men, if it is like a superhero movie, you want to see the guy start off here, go through something real bad, and then come back on top. And from everywhere I'm seeing, which is called the hero's journey, there's no hero's journey in a superhero movie. You feel me?
Both ways.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response
No, man. Don't
were you
bring
even
that- don't
close
do
to
that
anything that could be considered a rational thought.
You can tell from her awkward, stumbling response that she's trying her best not to offend the interviewer by saying, "What the fuck are you even talking about?" Because that would kick off an even worse shitstorm, while instead pivoting the conversation back towards the generic talking points that she's been given. She's doing exactly what every actor on the promo tour tries to do, she's just not very good at it. If she'd been a bit less drunk and a bit more experienced, she might have said something like, "It's awesome that the LGBT community have embraced Supergirl like this, and I think that's part of what makes the character so interesting. There's something in her that everyone can identify with, and that's why I'm super excited to be playing her." Ever notice how politicians never really answer the questions they're given and instead just reframe them into the things they want to talk about? Well, that's exactly what actors are supposed to do when they're promoting their movie. And honestly, I blame the fucking studio, man. Not just for failing to give her the media training she clearly needed, but for putting idiots like this in front of her in the first place.
I mean, like, especially on the media training, you're Supergirl, so you're gonna be asked these questions, so you got to be prepared to answer them in a way that won't hurt you, or the team that you represent in the movie that you represent. Because if you are out here, a little tipsy off wine, feeling yourself, you might say something that one, you might not really mean, and two, again, something that can damage the relationships that you built
It's
up.
like
around
that
this
Mark
movie.
Melkin guy. "Would you say this is the gayest superhero ever?" They had to know that questions like this were only ever going to appeal to a tiny percentage of the audience and alienate everyone else, but they did it anyway. They threw Millie Alcock to the wolves with this one, and I think that's a real shame because the fallout from this disaster is probably going to derail her career for years, if not forever. Myth number 2 is that the movie failed because men just can't stand to see women heading up superhero movies. Again, this is bullshit because how do you expect
I'm gonna let them cook, but there's plenty of women superhero movies that are good and that men like and watch. This apparently just isn't one of them.
explain the success of Wonder Woman? There was no real antagonism around that movie. Men and women both enjoyed it, and it was a critical and commercial hit. Why, you ask? Well, because the protagonist was likable, feminine, and actually heroic. She wasn't some prickly, aggressive bitch who had to turn every conversation into a battle of wills, or a walking inferiority complex who constantly had to prove herself better than everyone else, or some shitty feminist revenge fantasy out to punish and humiliate every single man in the movie. Men are perfectly happy to support female-led movies on 3 conditions. 1, they don't shit on men for the crime of simply existing. 2, the female lead is somewhat likable. And 3, they're actually good. Supergirl failed on at least 2 of those.
Especially with like superhero woman, man. If you're attractive, you're likable, and you have like I want to say heroic personality, but the will of self-sacrifice, it's probably gonna be a good movie. You're probably gonna capture the whole American audience, not just the men.
Conditions, arguably 3 if you want to be picky. It was a shit film and the protagonist was just plain unlikable. Right from the first trailer, Kara's personality immediately turns you off, man. The writer probably thought it was super empowering and fresh to have a female hero who's messy and crazy and doesn't exist to live up to your expectations. But that's precisely the problem, partly because to outsiders, Kara comes across as lazy, arrogant and self-absorbed, but mostly because you're treating the audience like unwanted baggage that the protagonist has got no time for, like some opponent who has to be defeated or corrected. People couldn't warm to this character because you gave us no reason to like her. In particular, you gave men no reason to like her. See, we've got no sisterly solidarity with female characters. We're not going to support them simply because they exist, so you have to work extra hard if you want to win us over. And win us over you must, because here's another uncomfortable truth for you. When it comes to superhero movies, men are your target audience.
Like, is that really a surprise with superhero movies? Like that's the thing to understand about Supergirl. You know, when I first saw it being advertised, I'm like, okay, Supergirl. All right, so it's gonna be like I don't know if she's like Superman's. What relationship you got with Superman? But as soon as I thought of Supergirl, I saw the Supergirl trailer. I thought of Superman. So I'm like, surely they're gonna bring the Superman audience over to somehow like Supergirl because of whatever the F. And they didn't do that. Again, I haven't seen the movie, but everything I'm hearing is that she's unlikable. This movie looks like, just they hate men. And there's just not a lot to like about the movie. And your target audience is men. And you should know men. Like, what are
You
you
might
thinking?
hate them, you might resent them, but men are who you have to appeal to. It doesn't matter how hard you pander, women are not going to suddenly show up en masse to support your feminist superhero
Right.
movie, because for the most part, it just does
They
not
don't care.
interest them.
Yeah, they just don't
Men
care.
are
It's
who you
cool.
need to appeal to, and you failed big time with Supergirl. Also, there's no getting around this. The writing philosophy behind characters like Kara is like 5 years out of date now. As a culture, we are so fucking over the whole deconstructed hero thing now. It's not cool or edgy or inventive anymore. After more than a decade of this mean-spirited crap, it's become tired, dated, and played out. The very thing it was supposed to be a response to. The lazy comfort zone of hackneyed, cynical, and cowardly writers who are so afraid of doing anything real and authentic they'd rather hide behind irony and self-mockery. Speaking of which, myth number 3. People were just out to hate this movie because they want James Gunn to fail.
Say anything but what the problem
I mean,
is.
as much as I love the idea of this army of embittered Snyder bros working in the shadows to orchestrate one of the biggest media destruction campaigns in history, I think you're investing them with way more power than they actually have. It's the same story with content creators like myself. Yeah, we might get a lot of views at times, but do you really think all the normies out there even know or care what we have to say about Supergirl? Of course they fucking don't. We don't make the news, we just report on it.
Just report
But
on
on
it,
the
baby.
subject of James Gunn, I think it's fair to say that his creative vision for DC hasn't exactly been a winner so far. Why? Well, 2 reasons. 1, people are simply tired of his shit because the whole deconstructed cynical hero thing that's coming to the end of its cultural arc is literally all he knows how to do. It's woven into the DNA of every movie and TV show he produces, and it's so fucking played out now.
To be fair, I don't really watch too much Marvel or DC movies anymore because of, I just don't resonate with them.
And 2,
So I don't know who this gentleman is, but I'm just getting his feedback from this guy.
his management of the DC brand makes Kathleen Kennedy look like a model of executive efficiency. I mean, shit, man, at least she actually
big
turned a
numbers.
profit before she burned it all to the ground. He hasn't even managed to do that. His weird piecemeal approach to trickling out obscure, disconnected content with no particular structure, plan, or overarching narrative tying it all together just reinforces what most people already knew. James Gunn is a director at heart, not a studio head. He doesn't have the big picture creative vision to manage an entire cinematic universe like this, and if anything, he seems to get sidetracked on personal vanity projects like Peacemaker or Creature Commandos, while failing to lay down the building blocks that this franchise desperately needs. They say that a rising tide lifts all boats, and there's no better example of that than the MCU, where even dogshit movies like Black Panther 2 somehow made more than $860 million. DC, on the other hand, is still waiting for the fucking tide to come in, which means every film they release right now has to stand on its own merits. Any sane man in his position would have brought out the biggest guns in the arsenal. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Give them all their own solo adventures, then have
Right.
them team up for some epic cinematic event movie. Then and only then can you use that momentum to launch the B-listers like Supergirl, Green Lantern, and fucking Booster Gold. Instead,
don't know who
Gunn's
that is, but it makes
DCU is
sense.
all arse about
Strategy makes
face,
sense.
trying to open with shit that nobody cares about in a market for superhero movies that's rapidly shrinking, and well, the results speak for themselves. All of this is to say that, yeah, Supergirl was an entirely predictable failure, but not for the reasons that a lot of people seem to think. It probably would have failed at the box office even if it had been a decent movie, but as it turns out, it couldn't even manage to do that. And if this is what the future of DC on film looks like under James Gunn, well, you have to start asking yourself how much longer he'll be around. My guess is, not long. Anyway, That's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Want to break
Yo,
into
tell me, have y'all watched Supergirl? If you have, what do you think about it? I remember when I first saw the commercial of it, it was on my birthday, and I was like, there's no way in hell I'm watching this. Because I knew I was like, this wouldn't be something I'm interested in. Because usually, when it comes to superheroes like that, it's just not, there's no hero's journey. The hero's journey has been undefeated throughout storytelling for years. Don't reinvent the wheel. All right, let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. Appreciate you stopping in. If you're new, subscribe and like the video for more content. It's your boy Guy with a Mic. Till next time.